Your Excellency, राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप,
President Trump,
दोनों देशों के डेलीगेट्स,
delegates of both countries,
मीडिया के साथियों,
friends from the media,
नमस्कार।
Namaskar.
सबसे पहले
I would like to, first of all,
राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप को
express
मेरे शानदार
my
स्वागत
heartfelt
और
gratitude
आतिथ्य सत्कार के
to
लिए
my dear friend President
हार्दिक
Trump
आभार व्यक्त
for
करता
the
हूं।
grand welcome and hospitality
राष्ट्रपति
accorded to me.
ट्रंप ने
President Trump's
भारत और अमेरिका
leadership
संबंधों को
has been
अपने नेतृत्व
instrumental in nurturing India-US ties
जीवंत बनाया
and
है।
making them vibrant.
जिस उत्साह से
I could
उनकी
feel
पहली
today
टर्म में
the same enthusiasm,
वही उमंग,
the same enthusiasm, the
वही
same
ऊर्जा
energy, the same commitment that we had worked with
मैंने
during
आज
our
भी
first
महसूस
term.
की है। आज की चर्चाओं में
Our discussions today
उनके पहले टर्म में
highlighted
हमारी उपलब्धियों का
our
संतोष,
pride in our accomplishments during his first
गहरे
term,
आपसी
the
विश्वास
deep
का
mutual trust
सेतु था।
that we share,
साथ ही
and
नए लक्ष्यों को
also
प्राप्त
the
करने का
resolve to attain
संकल्प भी
new
था।
goals.
हम मानते हैं
We
कि
also
भारत और अमेरिका का साथ और सहयोग
that the partnership
एक बेहतर
and
विश्व को
cooperation between
shape
India
कर
and the
सकता है।
US can shape a better world. Friends,
अमेरिका के लोग
the people of America
राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप के
are aware
मोटो
of President Trump's
Make
motto,
America Great
Make
Again,
America Great Again,
यानी
or
मागा से परिचित।
MAGA. The people of America are well
भारत के
aware
लोग
of
भी
it. The people of India too
विरासत और विकास की
are
पटरी पर
focusing on
विकसित
both
भारत
heritage and development
2047 के
as they
दृढ़
move
संकल्प को
forward
लेकर
at a fast pace
तेज गति
and
शक्ति
with a
से
firm resolve
विकास की
to
ओर अग्रसर
ensure a developed India by
अमेरिका
2047.
की भाषा में कहूँ
If I were to say this,
तो विकसित
borrowing
भारत का
an
मतलब
expression from America,
Make India
our vision
Great
for a
Again.
developed India
यानी
is to make India great
MEGA.
again, or MEGA.
जब अमेरिका और भारत
When America and
साथ मिलकर
India
काम करते हैं
work together,
यानी
that is,
मागा
when MAGA, when it's
plus
MAGA plus
MEGA,
MEGA,
तब बन जाता
it
है
becomes
मेगा
MEGA,
पार्टनरशिप
a
और
mega
prosperity।
partnership for prosperity.
और यही मेगा
And it
spirit
is this mega spirit
हमारे लक्ष्यों को
that gives
नया
new
स्केल
scale
और स्कोप
and
देती है।
scope to our objectives. Friends,
आज हमने
today
द्विपक्षीय व्यापार
we
को
have also set ourselves the
2030
target
तक
of
दो
more
गुना से भी
than
अधिक
doubling
बढ़ाकर
our bilateral trade
$500
to
billion
attain
तक
$500
पहुंचाने
billion by
लक्ष्य निर्धारित
2030.
किया। हमारी
Our
टीमें
teams
एक
will
पारस्परिक
work
लाभकारी
on concluding
ट्रेड
very
एग्रीमेंट को
soon a mutually
शीघ्र संपन्न
beneficial
करने पर
trade
काम करेंगे।
agreement
भारत की ऊर्जा
in
सुरक्षा,
order to ensure India's energy security.
ऑयल
We
तथा
will
गैस ट्रेड
focus
को
on
बल
trade
देंगे।
in oil and gas.
ऊर्जा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में
Investment
निवेश भी
in
बढ़ेगा।
energy infrastructure will also
न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी
increase.
क्षेत्र में
In the
हमने
area of nuclear
स्मॉल
energy,
मॉड्यूलर
we
रिएक्टर्स की दिशा
also
में
discussed
सहयोग बढ़ाने पर भी
increasing
बात
cooperation
की।
on small modular reactors. Friends,
भारत की डिफेंस प्रिपेयर्डनेस में
America
अमेरिका की
plays an important role in India's defense preparedness.
स्ट्रेटेजिक और ट्रस्टेड पार्टनर के नाम
As
पे
strategic and trusted
हम joint
partners,
development
we are moving
joint
forward
production
actively
और
towards
transfer of
joint
technology की
development,
दिशा में
joint
सक्रिय रूप
production
से
and
आगे
transfer
बढ़ रहे
of
हैं।
technology.
आने वाले समय में
In
भी
the times to come as well,
नई टेक्नोलॉजी
new technologies
और
and
इक्विपमेंट
equipment
हमारी क्षमता
will
बढ़ाएंगे।
enhance our
हमने
capacities.
autonomous systems
We
in the
have
street
decided
alliance
to launch
लॉन्च करने का
Autonomous Systems
निर्णय
Industry
लिया।
Alliance,
अगले दशक के लिए
a defense
डिफेंस
cooperation
कोऑपरेशन
framework
फ्रेमवर्क
for
बनाया
the
जाए।
next decade will be prepared.
डिफेंस इंटरऑपरेबिलिटी,
Interoperability,
लॉजिस्टिक्स,
logistics,
रिपेयर
repair,
और मेंटेनेंस
and
भी
maintenance will
इसके मुख्य भाग होंगे।
also be its key components.
21वीं
Friends,
सदी
the 21st century
टेक्नोलॉजी
is
ड्रिवन
a
सेंचुरी है।
technology-driven century.
लोकतांत्रिक मूल्यों में
Close
विश्वास रखने
cooperation
वाले देशों
in
के
the
बीच
area of technology
टेक्नोलॉजी
between
क्षेत्र में
countries that believe
करीबी
in
सहयोग
democratic values
पूरी मानवता
can give new direction,
नई दिशा,
strength,
शक्ति
and
और अवसर दे
opportunities to
सकता है।
the entire humanity.
भारत और अमेरिका
India and the US
आर्टिफिशियल
will
इंटेलिजेंस,
jointly work in areas of
Semiconductors,
artificial intelligence,
क्वांटम,
semiconductors,
बायोटेक्नोलॉजी
quantum,
तथा टेक्नोलॉजी में मिलकर
and
काम
several
करेंगे।
other technologies.
आज हमने
Today,
ट्रस्ट
we also
यानी
agree on trust, which
ट्रांसफॉर्मिंग
stands
रिलेशनशिप
for
यूटिलाइजिंग
transforming
स्ट्रेटेजिक
relationships
टेक्नोलॉजी
utilizing
उस पर
strategic
सहमति
technology.
इसके
Under
अंतर्गत
this,
क्रिटिकल मिनरल
our focus will be
Advanced
on
materials
establishing strong supply
और
chains
pharmaceutical
for critical
मजबूत
minerals,
supply chains
advanced
बनाने पर
materials,
बल
and
दिया जाए।
pharmaceuticals.
लिथियम
We
और रेयर अर्थ जैसे
have also
स्ट्रेटेजिक मिनरल के
decided
लिए
to launch
रिकवरी
a recovery
और प्रोसेसिंग
and processing
इनिशिएटिव
initiative for
Launch
strategic
करने का
minerals
भी
like lithium and
निर्णय
rare
लिया।
earths.
स्पेस के क्षेत्र में
We
अमेरिका से
had
हमारा करीबी
close
सहयोग रहा।
cooperation with the US in the area
इसरो
of space.
और नासा के आपसी सहयोग से बनाई
The
निसार
SAR
सैटेलाइट
satellite developed with mutual
शीघ्र ही
collaboration between ISRO
भारतीय
and
लॉन्च
NASA
व्हीकल
will
पर
soon be flying into
अंतरिक्ष
space
की
on
उड़ान
an
भरेगी।
Indian launch vehicle.
फ्रेंड,
Friends,
भारत और अमेरिका की
partnership
साझेदारी
between India and the US
लोकतंत्र
strengthens
और लोकतांत्रिक
democracy
मूल्य
and strengthens
तथा व्यवस्थाओं को
democratic values
सशक्त
and
बनाती
systems.
है। इंडो पैसिफिक में शांति
We will work
स्थिरता
together to
और
enhance
समृद्धि को बढ़ाने के लिए
stability and prosperity in
मिलकर काम
the
करेंगे।
Indo-Pacific.
इसमें
The
क्वाड
Quad
की विशेष
will play
भूमिका
a
होगी।
special role in this.
इस वक्त भारत में होने जा रही
During the Quad
क्वाड
Summit
समिट में हम
to be held in
पार्टनर
India this
देशों के
year,
साथ
we will expand
नए क्षेत्रों
cooperation
में
in new areas
सहयोग
with
बढ़ाएंगे।
our partner countries.
आईमेक
Under
और
the
I2U2 के तहत हम
I2U2,
इकोनॉमिक कॉरिडोर
will work together
और
for
कनेक्टिविटी
the
इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर
development
पर
of economic corridors
मिलकर काम
and
करेंगे।
in the area of connectivity.
आतंकवाद के खिलाफ लड़ाई में
India and US
भारत और
will
अमेरिका
stand strongly together
दृढ़ता से
in the fight
साथ खड़े रहे।
against terrorism.
हम सहमत हैं
We agree
कि सीमा पार
that
आतंकवाद के उन्मूलन के लिए
to eliminate
ठोस कार्रवाई
terrorism,
आवश्यक
we
है।
need concrete actions.
और मैं राष्ट्रपति जी का आभारी हूँ।
I'm very
उन्होंने
grateful to President
2008 के
that
जिसने भारत में नरसंहार किया
in
उस
2008
मुजरिम
somebody
को
carried out
अब
genocide
भारत
in
के हवाले
India.
करने का
That
निर्णय
criminal is now going to be handed over to
भारत की
India. And I'm
अदालत
grateful
में
to
उचित
President Trump for
कार्रवाई
this.
करेंगे।
And appropriate
Friends,
action will be taken in the
अमेरिका में रहने
course.
वाला
Friends,
भारतीय समुदाय
Indian community
हमारे संबंधों की
living in
महत्वपूर्ण
the
कड़ी
US is an important link in
हमारे
our relations.
पीपल टू
In
पीपल
order
टाइप को
to further
और
deepen
गहरा करने के लिए
people-to-people
हम
ties,
शीघ्र ही
India will soon
लॉस
open
एंजलिस
new
और
consulates
बॉस्टन
in
में
Los Angeles
भारत के
and Boston.
नए कॉन्सुलेट
Is one
खोलेंगे।
new consulates.
हमने अमेरिका की
We
यूनिवर्सिटी
have invited
और शिक्षा संस्थानों
American
को
universities and
भारत में
educational institutes
ऑफशोर
to
कैंपस
open
खोलने के लिए
their offshore
निमंत्रण दिया।
campuses in India.
राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप
President Trump,
आपकी मित्रता
I am
और
grateful
भारत के
to
लिए
you
दृढ़
for your
प्रतिबद्धता के लिए
and strong
मैं
commitment
आपका
towards
आभार व्यक्त
India.
करता हूँ। भारत के लोग को
The people of India,
2020 की आपकी यात्रा को
fondly
आज
remember
भी
your visit
याद करते
in
हैं
2020
और उम्मीद
and
करते
hope
हैं
that
कि राष्ट्रपति
President Trump
ट्रंप
will
एक
come
बार फिर
and
उनके पास
visit them
आएंगे।
again.
140 करोड़
On behalf
भारतवासियों की ओर
of
से
1.4
मैं
billion
आपको
Indians,
भारत
I
आने के
invite
लिए
you to
आमंत्रित
visit
करता हूं।
India.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. People in India will naturally welcome your decision to extradite Thakur Rana to India back home. In that context, I'd like to ask you a question about, in the last few years, we have seen several groups in the U.S. raising anti-India voice, calling about separation, terrorism activities in India. Do you think that should continue here in the U.S. as well?
You're going to have to go louder.
Mr. President, people in India would be welcoming your decision to extradite Thakur Rana to...
I can't understand the word you said. It's not it's the accent. It's a little bit tough for me to hear. How about you, please? Go ahead back there.
Mr. President, thank you. First, I want to ask
Thank you
the
very
Prime
much.
Minister a question. You and the President, you both spoke about combating ISIS. You both sounded very excited about this partnership upcoming. And I was curious, how much more confident are you with President Trump leading this country that there will be peace through strength and you will have a successful partnership with the United States versus with Biden's incompetence and weakness over the last 4 years?
That's your question, but I'll answer it. I agree with you. Gross incompetence. We're going to have a fantastic relationship, and it has been, but the whole world's been set back over the last 4 years by the weakness of the United States, the weak leadership of the United States. But I think we've taken care of it in just 3 weeks. It seems to me that even some of the media that we wouldn't prefer has been writing that this is a much different country right now, that the world has a light over it, not only our country, but the whole world. The Prime Minister told me that before, too, even over India. The world has a light. They need the United States to be strong and powerful, but good. And I think that's happened, and I think it's happened in a very short period of time. But I will tell you, we're going to have a fantastic relationship, and it'll make both countries much stronger.
Mr. President, I have a question in Bangladesh.
Okay, Geeta Mohan from India Today, sir. I'll just take my colleague Lalit Jha's question forward because you can understand.
Okay, fine.
The question is about the fact that you've decided to extradite Thakur Rana. Thank you so much. India has been waiting to have him back in India to bring him to justice. But there are many other elements in the United States of America, particularly Khalistani separatists who've been working against Indian interests. How is the United States of America going to cooperate on that front with India? There have been allegations that have been leveled against Indian agencies by the Biden administration. Are you going to relook that with Tulsi Gabbard as DNI now?
Well, I don't think India had a very good relationship with the Biden administration. They wouldn't sell them oil and gas, which is rather hard to believe because it's a good thing to do. And a lot of things happened that weren't very appropriate, I thought, between India and the administration, the Biden administration. But as you said, we're giving a very violent man, it seems to me. And I don't know that he's been convicted yet or will be, but let's assume he's a pretty violent person. We're giving him back to India immediately. And there are more to follow because we have quite a few requests. So we work with India on crime. And we want to make it good for India, and it's very important. So that kind of a relationship is very important to us. Okay? Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. President, you've repeatedly called India a big abuser of trade and said it is really difficult to do business in India because of tariffs. You announced reciprocal tariffs today. I am hoping you can speak about what kind of reciprocal tariffs India can expect. Are you willing to make any concessions and how can India head off these tariffs? I also have one for the Prime
Sure.
Minister.
Well, India's been, to us, just about the highest tariffed nation anywhere in the world. They've been very strong on tariffs. I don't blame them necessarily, but it's a different way of doing business. It's very hard to sell into India because they have trade barriers, very strong tariffs. We are right now a reciprocal nation. We are going to, if it's India or if it's somebody else with low tariffs, we're going to have the same. We're going to have whatever India charges, we're charging them. Whatever another country charges, we're charging them. So it's called reciprocal, which I think is a very fair way. We didn't have that. I was going to do that in my other term, and we had the greatest economy ever in the world. There's never been an economy like we had, and then we got hit with COVID. We had to focus on that, and I wasn't really in the mood to be putting it on Italy and Spain and France and India, frankly, and a lot of other countries, because the world was very troubled until we got rid of that nightmare. But we had the strongest economy anywhere in the world during that fairly long period of time during my first term, as you know, and we didn't do the tariffs. We would have done the reciprocal tariffs, but we decided, and I decided, I think on a human basis, on a humane basis, not to do them because of the fact that there was such suffering all over the world. The last thing we needed to talk about is trade problems. But now we do. We're doing, we see a tremendous future for our country, but we felt that now it's finally time, after 45 or 50 years of abuse, that we will do, and this is in India, this is among a lot of nations. The European Union is very difficult for us, very, very difficult. They tax our companies at levels that nobody's ever seen before. They take advantage of a lot of things, so we're not happy about that. China, of course, is terrible, and we've never taken in 10 cents until I was president. We've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars from China since I've been president in the first term and now. And we have to do that just as a mechanism of fairness. And that's what I've done. And so we are being reciprocal with India. Whatever India charges, we charge them. So frankly, it no longer matters to us that much what they charge, because whatever they charge. I had discussions with India in the first term about the fact that their tariffs were very high, and I was unable to get a concession. So we're just going to do it the easy way. We're just going to say whatever you charge, we charge. And I think that's fair for the people of the United States. And I think it's actually fair for India. Ask to the Prime
question
Minister.
for the Prime Minister, please.
Ask to the Prime Minister, please.
Sorry. Yoshita Singh with Press Trust of India. Prime Minister, thank you, Mr. President. Prime Minister, the US is giving a lot of push to curb illegal immigration, and India has been cooperating on this issue. How does India see this issue in the larger context? Thank you.
सवाल सिर्फ भारत का नहीं है.
It's a question that is about India only, but even globally you can talk about this issue. And we are of the opinion that anybody who enters another country illegally, they have absolutely no right to be in that country. And as far as India and the US is concerned, we have always been of the same opinion, and that is that any verified Indian who is in the US illegally, we are fully prepared to take them back to India. However, it doesn't stop there. These are children of very ordinary families, and they are lured by big dreams and big promises. A lot of them are brought in without them knowing about why they're going to a country. And in fact, they are connected with a human trafficking system, and we have to make sure that we fight against this system. As far as the US and India is concerned, I think what we should do is make efforts to make sure that we uproot these from within the system so that we can reduce or remove human trafficking. And basically, the young, vulnerable, poor people of India are fooled into coming over as illegal immigrants. And our bigger fight actually is against this ecosystem or this system that encourages such gangs to thrive. And I can tell you that India will completely support.
Thank you, Mr. President. The question for the Prime Minister Modi first, if I may. I wanted to ask you, did you discuss any possible business deals with Elon Musk during your meetings today, Mr. Prime Minister? And Mr. President, I wanted to ask you, today you spoke about hoping to have three-way talks with President Xi and President Putin. What would you say to European leaders and other allies who may be concerned that you're apparently more keen to speak to America's adversaries than to its allies? Thank you.
Maybe I'll just go first on this one. We had some talks, and we told the European Union, we told the NATO people, largely they overlap, you have to pay more money because it's unfair what we're doing. We're doing a tremendous amount more. We're probably $200 billion more going into Ukraine, using for Ukraine to fight. And Europe has not really carried its weight in terms of the money. It's not equitable. And we want to see a counterbalance. We want to have them put up more money. They have to do that. At the same time, we had a very good conversation with President Putin yesterday, and we also had a very good conversation. I did in both cases, with President Zelensky. And I think we're going to be able to do something. I think we're going to be able to make a deal. And I hope so, because it's a horrible war. It's a very terrible, bloody war with 1.5 million soldiers at least already dead on the battlefield, lying all over the fields like nobody's ever seen anything like it, certainly since the Second World War. And so I think we're going to be able to do something. We're working with President Zelensky and with President Putin, and my impression is that I know that President Zelensky wants to make a deal, and I also feel that I know that President Putin wants to make a deal. I wanted to know that before I began any detailed discussions. But the meeting and the conversation, also the meeting with Steve Witkoff in Moscow, was a very successful one. And my phone call with him was a very successful one. Please.
You asked a question regarding Elon Musk. I have known him for a very long time. I was not even a prime minister at the time when I first met him. I was chief minister. And today he came to meet me along with all his family, with his children. And so we had a nice discussion. As far as EVs are concerned, the word EV has a copyright, and that is one person who has a copyright to the word EV, and that is Trump.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can I ask whether you discussed at all today the case of Gautam Adani, who's one of the wealthiest men in Asia and perceived as an ally of Prime Minister Modi? Prime Minister Modi, have you asked the President to take action on that case? Thank you.
India is a democratic country, and our culture and our thought philosophy is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which basically means that the entire world is a family. Every Indian is my own family member. And when it comes to such personal matters, leaders of two countries will not get together on that topic and discuss anything on an individual matter.
Go ahead, please. Yeah, please. Sir, go ahead, please.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. I have a question for you as well. But, Mr. President, you have suggested, with regards to the Russia-Ukraine war, you've suggested several things that Ukraine should give up. The idea of NATO membership, territory that was seized back in 2014 by Russia. what should Russia give up?
Russia has gotten themselves into something that I think they wish they didn't. If I were president, it would not have happened. Absolutely would not have happened. And it didn't happen for 4 years. If you look at what has taken place under President Bush, they lost a lot. Under President Obama, they lost Crimea. Under Biden, it looks like they could lose the whole thing. Under Trump, they lost nothing. Ukraine lost nothing. They didn't give up anything. And you take a look at the other 3 presidents surrounding me, they gave up a lot. I think that when you look at Ukraine and when you look at the mess that they're in, it's got to be ended and it's got to be stopped. Now, Russia's taken over a pretty big chunk of territory, and they also have said from day one, long before President Putin, they've said they cannot have Ukraine be in NATO. They said that very strongly. I actually think that that was the thing that caused the start of the war, and Biden said it, and Zelensky said it, and I think that was one of the reasons, one of the starts of the war. But from long before Putin, they said you cannot have Ukraine going in any way into NATO. And I start from that standpoint. I think everybody knew that. Now, if a better deal can be negotiated, if they're able to make a deal where they can do that, that's fine with me. I really don't care. I want that bloodshed to stop. I don't want to see, we have an ocean between us and the site we're talking about, the site of death. We're calling it the fields of death. We have a big ocean in between us. This is more important for Europe. We shouldn't be in. They have to equalize, and they're going to have to do it fast, but they have to equalize. But as far as the negotiation, it's too early to say what's going to happen. Maybe Russia will give up a lot, maybe they won't, and it's all dependent on what is going to happen. The negotiation really hasn't started. But I will say, as far as NATO is concerned, from many years before President Putin, I will tell you that I've heard that Russia would never accept that, and I think Ukraine knew that, because Ukraine wasn't in and never requested to be in until more recently. So that's the way it is, and I think that's the way it's going to have to be. All right, go ahead, please, with the time. With the time.
Mr. President,
yes, go ahead.
This is Saurabh Shukla from News Mobile. Mr. President, you spoke about Prime Minister Modi as a tough negotiator. Who was a tougher negotiator today, and who has a better negotiating tactic when it comes to tariffs?
Oh, he's a much tougher negotiator than me, and he's a much better negotiator than me. There's not even a contest. Okay? Yeah, go ahead, please. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Reena Bhardwaj from ANI. How do you see this relationship between India and the United States to counter China? And what is your vision when it comes to India, brokering peace in the Ukraine and Russia conflict?
Well, I think we're going to have a very good relationship with China. I got along with President Xi very well until COVID. That was a bridge too far. But until then, I got along with President Xi very, very well. We were very close as leaders go. I don't want to be naive, but as leaders go, I think we were very close. And I think that China is a very important player in the world. I think they can help us get this war over with Ukraine and Russia. And I look at India, I do see the skirmishes on the border, which are quite vicious, and I guess they continue to go on. If I could be of help, I'd love to help, because that should be stopped. That's been going on for a long time. And it's quite violent. It's quite violent. But I would hope that China and India and Russia and U.S. and all of us can get along. It's very important. The power of weaponry today is, and not only nuclear, but nuclear in particular, the power of weaponry is very important. I said before that I had very constructive talks in my first term with President Putin about the denuclearization of the two countries, and then we were going to go to China after we worked some kind of a deal. And we had the confines of a deal. I thought he really wanted to do it, so did I, denuclearize. And it's such a beautiful term when you think about it. In other words, to bring it down, because the power of those weapons is too great. And I did speak to President Xi about that, and I was getting also a very good response. He's building a very strong nuclear power. He's not very close to Russia or the United States right now, but he will be soon. I mean, he'll catch up over the period of 4 or 5 years, they say. But it would be a great thing if we could, on a military basis. We're going to spend this year let's say $915 billion on military. Russia, without the war, was spending close to 100, but with the war, I can't tell you what they're spending, but they're spending a lot. And China is spending $400 and $450 billion. We're over $900 billion. And I said, you know, it doesn't really make sense, does it? We're spending the money against each other, and we could spend that money for better purpose if we got along. And I'll tell you, I think that something like that will happen. First, when I left, as you know, 4 years ago, we didn't have Israel and the Middle East. We didn't have October 7th, a disaster, the disaster. Nothing was happening. Iran was not going to do anything because Iran did not have much money at that point. They were broke. They were totally broke. They didn't have money for Hamas or for Hezbollah. And you didn't have Russia with Ukraine, and that would never have happened. But now I come back and I have, the whole world is on fire, so I have to put out the fires. But after I put out the fires, I'm going to meet with China and I'm going to meet with Russia, and we're going to see if we can de-escalate it. We can bring it down military, especially as it pertains to nuclear. Please.
अगर आप माइक लेकर के कुछ बात करें तो
Prime Minister, how do you see India's role? You have had discussions with President Trump about de-escalating the conflict in Russia and Ukraine. As you know, I have been in constant contact with both Russia and Ukraine. I have also visited both countries, and many people are mistaken and they feel that India is neutral. I would like to clarify, India is not neutral. We have taken a side, and we have taken the side of peace. And it is based on this principle of ours that in the presence of President Putin, I clearly said in front of the media that this is not the era of war. And even today, it is my conviction that solutions cannot be found on the battlefield. Ultimately, you have to come to the negotiating table. And India has constantly made efforts that there are talks that take place where both parties are present. It is only then that we will find a solution. The efforts being made by President Trump, I support them, I welcome them, and I would hope that President Trump is successful as soon as possible.
We have so much in common, and all we want to do is have peace, and we want to have strength, and we want to have lots of different things together, but the relationship with India and with the Prime Minister has never been better. Thank you very much.
Keep your seat. Keep your seat. Yep, so much for that.